Alright, so what I first did was I dragged my picture in I took a photo of it and I put it into Photoshop so that I can start working with it. So the idea that we're trying to do is we're trying to make an abstract artwork. So this was based on my original drawings, which you'll see pictures of. So my original drawings of a lizard on top of a breeze block with some seaweed around it and a little water drops. So that's what my original drawing is from. And essentially what I want to do is figure out some type of pattern or random pattern. It doesn't have to be a pattern. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be planned. It could be random if you like. But I'm just gonna have my layer right here. So I said without lines, because I got rid of the lines that I initially had. And I'm just gonna hold down my Alt key or my Option key on a Mac, and I'm gonna duplicate it. All right, and I can hold down Shift to keep it in place, or I can just put it wherever I want. So I duplicated it a few times here, and I'm just gonna select all of them, and I'm gonna hold down again my Alt key or my Option key, and then I'm gonna duplicate it going in the other direction. So that just gives me a bunch of them on the page, and it doesn't have to be like this. I could shift them. I could do whatever I like. You know, they don't have to be all the same. So let's shift them, like give it a little variation. So all I'm doing is I'm just moving things around till I like it, and I kind of like where this is going. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to probably combine my layers. So I have all these layers. They're all still selected because I use my move tool and I just drag the box across all of them. So I did like this and drag a box all the way across, and that selects all my layers. If you want, you can hold down Shift and select on the bottom layer and then click on the top layer while holding Shift, and it selects all the layers. I'm going to put them in a folder, and I'm going to title the folder pattern. Alright, so now I have them all in one folder, and what I want to do is I want to start working from this. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and I'm going to merge it. So I'm going to duplicate the group, and then I'm just going to say merge group, and I'm going to turn off my old one. So now they're all on one document, on one layer. So now what I want to do is I want to start coloring these. So currently I have them all as black and white. So I'm going to select what goes around them, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select in each of them the cutouts for mine. So there's a few places that are cut out. I'm just going to select all of those. And this might take a little bit, so I'm going to pause it and then start it up again. Alright, so I selected all my open areas, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my solid color, and I'm just going to make a template layer. So I'm just going to choose a color that I like. Blue is fine. And so now you can see, oh, I missed a spot, so I'm just going to go back on that layer, go back to my pattern layer, select it, and then go back to this layer and click backspace. Oops. Click backspace to delete it. And it looks like one of these I messed up. This one I messed up. I'm not going to go back and fix it. Yeah, I am. So I hold down my Alt key or my Option key, and it allows me to see what's on that, what's on what I'm selecting. I'm just going to paint this out and reselect it. Have dissolve. Let me go back to normal. So I'm just painting that out, and I'm gonna reselect it with something else. So go to this, click on my magic wand, select it, and go back to color fill. And I'm just gonna delete that again. There. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is, so I have all my colors and my shapes. So now I'm going to select the opposite of this by hit my control key and then clicking on the thumbnail, and now I'm going to do the fills. So let me select the inverse, select inverse. You can also right click and say select inverse, and I'm going to do a fill now. So solid color, let's change it to red. Alright, so now I have the fill colors, and you can see it's already starting to become an artwork, but we're going to take this a little bit further. What I like to do is I like to put a lot of texture in my work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate these layers, and then I'm going to merge them together, merge layers, and I'm going to call this one Liquify. So I'm going to go to my filter and I'm going to go to Liquify, and this is always one of my favorite things to do. I'm just going to drag stuff around the page. So I'm going to click on my first tool right here, the forward warp. I'm just going to whoop, 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 and I'm just spreading it out. I don't want to have any gaps, any transparent pixels, and then I'm going to click OK. Alright, so I'm going to drag this layer down, and this layer is going to eventually be my fill for this red layer. Oh, I see another one that I missed right here. I'm not going to fix it though. So I'm going to click Command and click on my thumbnail. Oh, this one. I want it to be my red layer, and I'm going to make this into my new layer. So it's like that. Alright, and you can see it's a little bit weird, but I'm going to go ahead and change that background color to something else, so I get a little bit of texture into my works. I think that gives it a nice feel. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change one of them to a different color. So this is essentially, and you can take it as far as you want. I mean, this is just how I abstracted mine, but you can abstract it anyways. I would love for you to play with all the little filters in there, but I just wanted to show you that Liquify. I think it's a fun one. So what now I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of them. So I'm going to hit Option or Alt, and I'm going to click on my black and white, and I think I'm going to make this one, I like to have it offset, so I think I'm going to make this one into a color. Maybe this one. This one is fine. So I'm going to make this into a color. So going back down here, I'm going to go ahead and select the solid color. Maybe I make it white. Maybe I make it yellow. Let's see what yellow looks like. It's too much. Maybe a pastel yellow would look cool. Alright. So I have that now as a color. And you can play around with some of these other things, some of these blend modes. Maybe you can come up with something cool like that. That looks pretty nice right there. So I'm going to just leave it like that. Ooh, I like that one. Exclusion. Alright, so I have a bright one down here to kind of offset everything. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a texture. So let me get my texture set up, and then I'll start it again. So I downloaded the texture pack that I had with the assignment, and I'm just going to place embedded. My downloads, textures, and I'm just going to choose one that I think will work good. It doesn't matter what, you're just looking for what type of pattern you want, so they're all pretty much the same. And so I'm adding my texture, and again we're just adding this texture so as a background kind of to the shape. So I'm gonna click on my purple color. I want to add it to the purple color, so I'm gonna click on I'm holding Command or Control, and I'm clicking on the mask here, and I'm just gonna add this as a texture. So I'm gonna create the mask on this. So I have this really cool texture, and I want to make it a darker color, so that darker purple color. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my hue saturation. I'm going to go adjustments, hue saturation, and I'm just gonna adjust the color so it's a nice purple color. I'm gonna click on this so it applies just to the layer underneath. So I have a nice purple in there, and I'm gonna knock back the saturation a little bit so it has a little bit more texture and color, and I think that's it. You can go back and add other things. So new layer, and then I'm gonna fill this with white. Oops. So fill this with white, or 50% gray is probably what I want. So 50% gray. Filter. I'm going to do texturizer, and then I just did a multiply, but there's some other ones if you wanted to have that texture, the canvas feel to it. So overlay came out really nice, and then it just gives it a little bit of a, makes it look like it's painted on canvas. So you can do that, or if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to, but I think it gives it a nice look. And the final thing that I would suggest is to do a signature on here. Adding a signature makes these things look completely different, but you know, it's up to you. It depends on how steady your hand is, or if you have a tablet, you can use a tablet. So let me change my point size. So add a signature to your painting, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this. So you're gonna save it as a JPEG file, save as. Well, let's first save it as your save the Photoshop document. So I'm gonna click Save Photoshop Document, and then I'm gonna save it as a JPEG. So save that, and then save as a separate one as a JPEG to submit to Canvas. Alright, and that's everything.